Shit is about to get real. This is Raw and Real with your business BFFs, Lauren Ciesco and Jen Navarro. Let's be honest, no one likes a long intro, so let's dive in now. So Jen,
Yes.
lifestyle entrepreneurship.
Okay.
Let's talk about it. I think first we should define it for our viewers.
Okay. So, my definition of lifestyle entrepreneurship is building your business to suit your lifestyle and not living your life to work. So, working to live instead of living to work.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. It's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, I think that this is just a different thing for me because I would never have considered my business in any iteration of my business to be like within that category of lifestyle entrepreneurship because I was always a hustler. Like it was part of my identity. I was, especially like living in New York for so long, it was really part of my identity.
Absolutely. And I think that when we think about our businesses before we brought them down, it was very much that hustle. Like we were in it. It was like a business to make money. We were like on the grind. We were hustling. And now this iteration of our businesses, everything is intentional. There's a really, first off, a big vision for what we really want and knowing why. And all of the decisions are based off of this vision that we have for our lives.
So, what's the vision that you have for your life?
To travel around the world. No, I mean, honestly, it's yes, to travel around the world, to get to do what I want to do, to wake up when I want to wake up, to get to share what I love talking about, which is this, right? To share my thoughts and to get to do it and to get paid for it. So for me, it's really less about money now and more about the freedom to experience things. You guys have probably know by now that me and Jen are both living in Mexico. Jen is living in Mexico City. She has like a home here. She's like a furnished home and she's very settled. Where me, on the other hand, I'm nomadic. I've been nomadic for about 4 years now. So for me, my ability to just be free and travel and meet a lot of cool people and also have a lot of fun. And I will add, like, have lots of great sex. And meet amazing lovers, which is also what I've been doing. Right. And it's just like, that's what I see for myself. But for me, if I didn't have my business, I wouldn't feel complete. So for my particular lifestyle entrepreneurship, my business is such a big part of who I am because this is what I was meant to do. This is what I was born to do. So there's so much fulfillment in the business itself that I get to use this business to then create the life that I intentionally created, which is child-free, traveling, sleeping in, doing cool shit, biking on the weekends or going to the beach, right? And that's really and also I think that my vision keeps on getting bigger where I'm thinking of a bigger impact too of like wanting to start a nonprofit one day or wanting to then have money to create more impact, right? So I think it's more about the impact than the actual materialistic things in my life. For me personally, this is my vision of like a lifestyle and like what my business does to me. It's a vehicle that for me to do the things that light me up and get paid for it and then live a life that I want.
I have a question about before you then started your business. So, like that version of you, would you say that that version of you was like not fulfilled, or like how are you filling in all that is now there because of your business that wasn't there because your business wasn't there yet?
Well, here's the interesting thing. When I was in corporate, I knew I wanted to have my own business, but what I thought that looked like was the version of it when we were hustling, not the version of me living abroad and being a digital nomad. Nowhere in my desire did I actually think or want to do what I'm doing now, but it was small little pieces that had to come together that allowed the space for my true desires to come forward. And because I had the freedom for my business where I was working remotely, that I was able to then follow these small little nudges that all led me to the right place for me to say yes when the opportunities were there, because I was already working remotely. And
In
because
your job or in your
I'm
business?
sorry, in my business, I was already
Okay.
like working, right? I was already working for myself. It was all remote.
Okay.
So when the opportunity to live in Mexico came up, I was
Mm.
able to say yes because I had the money and the freedom to do it. But it wasn't until I had that stability of that like time and of the money and the time and the freedom that I was able to then think beyond what could be for me and have the space for it to fall in.
Mm. Yeah, I think that my career as a makeup artist
Mhm.
was not that at all.
Tell me
Yeah, like, okay.
your version of that.
So first, I felt really, really trapped in corporate. I didn't realize that's how was
Yeah.
feeling. I just knew I felt yucky and I had to get out of it as soon as possible. And I
Right.
thought like, so I had the dream of being a makeup artist since I'm like so little, 5 years old, maybe. As soon as I like got to wear makeup at a dance recital, that's when I knew like, oh, I'm meant to be a makeup artist.
Yeah.
And so I'm one of the people who I say like that I know that actually got to do my dream career
Yeah.
and in the way that I wanted to do it. I didn't feel any sort of compromise to do
Yeah.
that career, but that career was really hard on my body,
Yeah.
like really hard on my physical like joints and my plantar fasciitis and like my lower back pain and my shoulder pain and all of
Yeah.
this. And so that business was not a lifestyle business.
No,
It
and it
wasn't a
required you to
lifestyle
be on set, and it
entrepreneurship.
required you to do a lot of traveling and work a lot of hours too.
Yes, which at the time I
Yeah.
loved. Like it was part of the prestige of being like, I just flew to LA to shoot a commercial for such and such a brand was like really cool to me.
Go
You know
ahead,
what I
Jen.
mean?
Name drop a little bit.
I mean, it was just like it really was like everything that I wanted it to be,
Yeah.
it was until it started becoming tiring and taxing.
Right.
And so in 2016 probably is when I started thinking about it, but 2017 I made the move to find a coach to teach me how to create a program
Mhm.
so that I could open a coaching business, right? So that was like the first move. And the idea that I had behind the coaching business was like I needed something remote, like exactly
Yeah.
what you're saying. And I'm like, I need to know how to run a business online. And it was like, come hell or high water, I'm going to figure this out.
Yeah.
And I did everything I possibly could to figure it out,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think that from knowing you now and seeing your journey and I having the same experience of like getting where we think it's where we want to be and then it actually not exactly being what we want. I think that's part of this lifestyle entrepreneurship is I think it's kind of like an experiment to like actually figure out what you want, because I think we want something, but then when we have it, it often doesn't feel the way that we think it's going to feel, which is what we both experienced. Both when I climbed the corporate ladder, ended up as the director of people and culture for a mortgage company. You know, had that director role, had the BMW convertible, had the apartment downtown. Like had that from the outside, the boxes checked, but on the inside I was miserable, right? I wasn't like doing the thing that lights me up. I hated what I was doing, even though I was good
Mm,
at it. Right. And so I think
mm.
that it's these following these breadcrumbs is like kind of been my experience. And what I like to tell my clients and tell people is allowing ourselves to, sometimes we have to do it to realize it's not what we want.
Oh, definitely.
Right. And so if you're in your business and it
Definitely.
doesn't look like you want, like this is all happening for you because it's like the contrast is going to then put you to the direction that you're meant to be on. And that's actually the path that me and Jen went, because
Mhm.
when we were working together last time in the last iteration, we were doing exactly what we wanted to do. We wanted to have a really strong following, which we did in a community. We wanted to be making those $20,000 months. We wanted to have like the masterminds. We wanted to have the group coaching programs that we were launching. We were doing that, but it was only after a year of doing it and realizing that we were hustling and then both having our moments of burning out,
Mhm.
right? So it's like that's what me and Jen really are all for right now is like, yeah, we want to help people create beautiful brands and beautiful YouTube channels and help them sell and help them make money, but in a way that actually feels good, in the way that actually fuels you, the way that is actually sustainable, the way that's going to fit your lifestyle instead of it running your life. Because I have built a business that ran my life and I will no longer do that. And Jen and I are constantly having conversations, having to remind ourselves and each other, oh, wait. We're doing things differently now.
Yeah, 100%. 100%, because I think that maybe this is along the topic of what shifts when you finally hit 40,
Yeah.
you know? And I don't know necessarily if it's just the age thing, but like also having moved first away from New York and then away from Miami. And to be honest, like spending a year in Maui was so life-changing for me that I actually thought that I would never move to a city again, which is really ironic because, like, here we are
In
in my
Mexico
home in
City.
Mexico City.
And like one of the biggest cities
The world,
the world.
you know? But, like, I think that navigating it now is so different to the way that I was navigating my life and my career when I was living
Yeah.
in New York City. And Miami was kind of like this weird gap time. Like, it was 4 years in Miami.
Yeah.
And to me, it was like, oh, well, there is a beach and there is a city, and it's, I don't know. Me and Miami have a funny relationship, and that gets to be okay because, like, as soon as I went to Hawaii, I knew I was supposed to be there. A
Yeah.
lot of healing happened. I couldn't run my business anyway. And so now, after learning everything over the past few years, like, I will not, and by the way, partially because my psychic told me I cannot, but because I actually cannot, physically cannot, I can't go against my own energy now.
Yeah.
And so this
Yeah.
is part of the reason I'm running a lifestyle business, is that I want to be able to not only like serve my clients to the highest quality that I could deliver, but I also want to like serve myself. So
Yeah.
no sacrificing. Can we do that? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that is the part to me that feels like an experiment.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's taking time over these last few years to really experiment. And even as soon as, what was it, a couple of weeks ago when I was at my launch and I
Mm,
called you, remember that
yeah.
very clearly? I was like,
Yeah.
I was in it. But I will say it's is one of the launches where it was almost effortless. Like everything, usually I'm like kind of like planning a little bit more as I'm going. And this was a little bit way more planned in advance. I was in the flow with content. Like everything seemed to be going perfect. Like the timing was great, but one little piece was off. And that was just me putting the pressure on it. And
Mm.
I called Jen and I was just like, something feels off. I just have to vent it out. And was talking to her and she's just like, friend, you're forgetting to have fun.
Yeah, like, you're forgetting what this part of your business is
You're
even for.
right. You're like, this is like the part where it's like just meant to be fun. And that's all I needed to hear to like literally have a shift in my energy. And
Totally.
like
They can hear the shift.
all of the actions after that were just like, oh yeah, I'm just doing this for the fun of it. And that's as small as a shift as and also so vital in running a business is not just being like, oh yeah, it's a lifestyle business, but it's all the time constantly checking in with ourselves, seeing how we feeling and giving ourselves permission to continue to adjust. And more importantly, reminding to bring the fun in and not take it so serious. And that's kind of from
Yeah.
somebody who from two recovering workaholics, hustlers, because that's my default is to hustle. And as I've gotten better at being an entrepreneur and more embodied in my business, what it actually has bought me and what that looks like in my business is giving myself more space. Because when I'm truly in an embodied place and embodying the successful entrepreneur, I know that everything is okay and I don't have to hustle and I just need to trust, which then allows me to like lean back my energy and not be in that hustle mode and like feel like I have to do it right now.
Man, I have to say that like that default when you were saying like it's my default to hustle.
Yeah.
Okay, so as soon as I knew that I was going to leave my job,
Mhm.
even with all of like the lessons that I had learned over the past 4 years or whatever, how many ever years, I still went into hustle mode. Like, I went straight into hustle mode. I was like,
Yeah.
how many projects can I get involved in? Like, how many, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
let me do YouTube. Let
Yeah.
me start doing everybody's branding. Let me start doing everybody's like consulting and all of this stuff. And I was just basically running myself ragged in a way where I was like, well, I'm the one choosing the projects and I'm the one who's helping out my friends, but there's still a finite amount of energy, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And so, like, even though it wasn't like I was hustling for, like, large sums of money, I was just trying to see which projects I actually liked,
Yeah.
how they felt while I was doing them, like, the process of. I still went from, "Okay, I'm gonna leave my job. Now let me hustle again." Like, and it really was, like, my psychic being like, "You gotta calm down. You've gotta, like, roll it back," you know?
I can relate so much because my biggest challenge, like seriously, like the thing that gets in my way the most in my business is I have so many ideas and I'm so excited about things. And I think I'm superhuman. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'll do a coaching call, a master class, and launch a launch a program in 3 weeks. And then when I go down to like figure out the time, I'm like, oh wait, I've bit off more than I chew. And it's because I'm like so excited to get it out that I realize that it actually takes time to create all of it. And that tends to be like I have to kind of checkpoint. I have a couple friends, including Jen and my one of my partners, Emily, and I'm constantly being like, "Oh, I did it again." I'm trying to do too much. And actually, this is my favorite saying is stop DTMing. Stop doing too much, right? Are you doing too much? And I will say that if you're find yourself in this place of always doing too much, it's actually coming from a place of feeling not enough.
Mhm.
Because we're trying to prove to ourselves. And what I've realized in my business that the more I become settled, the more that I do my embodiment work, the more that I give myself space, that's just allowing myself to be in this trusting place that I'm not having to make a million offers or having to take as much actions because I'm already validating myself. In the beginning, I was constantly launching offers, feeling like I had to keep up. And in this constantly launching offers and making offers, it was in that I needed to keep up with the money I was making. So there was this pressure to keep on launching, keep on making more offers, and it exhausted myself. And I just couldn't even keep up with it. And now what I love about it myself is the biggest shift I see in my business is before I launch anything, I take time to really sit with it before taking action.
Mm.
Or before I was like, idea, action, idea, action. Now I
Uh,
sometimes do that and I think is good, but that action was coming from a place of scarcity or needing to continue to make money rather than it being connected and me being really excited and into the work I'm doing.
mhm. Yeah. I think that it shows a sign of maturity, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you could actually run a lifestyle entrepreneurship endeavor without having a certain level of, like, safety within, security within, and, like, just being able to say no to things.
Yes. Yes. And that's been a huge shift in my business is saying no to people or saying no to things that are no longer aligned because I know that my results come from my aligned energy and aligned action rather than just a bunch of taken action. Like throwing
Yes.
spaghetti at the wall, which is what I did for many years and what I see a lot of people doing is that throwing spaghetti at the wall, which in the beginning there's a little bit of trial and error that happens, but I think that we tend to stay in that mindset, which then leads to burnout.
Well, I think also so there's this other concept that we talk about in brand strategy where you can either run full force
Mhm.
towards something with your eyes closed, hoping that you'll hit the target,
Yes.
or you can, like, actually find a true strategy and follow the strategy, and you can start walking forward towards the strategy, and you'll probably get there faster because you're running in the right or you're walking in the right direction,
Yep.
right? So, like,
Yep.
this is not to say that strategy trumps all. However, I am saying that strategy without substance strategy without like a true foundation or knowing the core of who you are, who your business is kind of just like finding a map to anywhere and deciding that that's the map that you need to follow to get to your destination.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
it's like, what what are we even doing with our businesses? Like, is your goal, is your mission, vision, and purpose really to make $100 million in 1 year? And like, if that's the goal, at what cost? What are you trying to prove and to who? Not that there's anything wrong with having that goal.
No,
Like,
not at all.
power to you if that is your goal, and great. I hope you do get it. And I hope that in your endeavor to go towards that goal, like, you are considering yourself,
Yeah.
the process, who you are, who you're becoming, how you feel in your life, the level of fulfillment that you have. Because what is the purpose of doing any of this if we are miserable on the way?
Yeah.
You
No,
know?
me and you have had this conversation so many times in our business because we've gotten caught up in the vanity metrics or just anything that's just off of why we really are doing it. I think that's one of the big cores, I think, of having a lifestyle business is the core of that is knowing your why, knowing your vision, and more importantly, really knowing you as a human being and your energy and how you work and what lights you up, because that's really our true GPS, right? Because I think that, and we'll just take us for an example. Like when I was 27, what I used to think happiness was getting married and having 3 kids.
Really?
Before 27,
Wow.
yes, right?
That is genuine shock. Because, like, I don't think
Right,
we've
because
ever talked about this.
right? So
Yeah.
I think that in different stages in our life, we have a vision of what we think we want. But I look back now and that was never really my true vision. It was just the programming of what I thought I had to do. And so I think that when we were really considering building a true lifestyle business, that part of this is letting go of the rules. It's unsubscribing from the box. It's, getting outside the box. It's going in what I call like our soul consciousness. We don't just have our minds, we have our soul, which is like who we are, and allowing ourselves to follow the desires, allowing ourselves to follow what lights us up. And I say this every single episode. It's about getting out of our heads and into our bodies. And that's where a lot of the guidance and a lot of the wisdom of what is right for me and truly for me, not just from that programmed version of the 27-year-old who thought that having 3 kids and getting married is what I want, or even the version of me at, we'll say, tw- 39, when I was really happy being in San Diego. And it was not even a blip of my mind to be living the way I do now. And the truth is, I can never put myself back in that box. And I go back to San Diego and I remember being like, I live in the best place. And I've lived in I grew up in New Hampshire. I lived in Northern California. I lived in Colorado. I lived in San Diego. So I've lived all around the states. And I thought that I lived in the best place. And now I go back and I'm like, nah. I'm like unimpressed. Like, I mean, granted, I still love San Diego. It's beautiful. But also like, because I keep on opening up and allowing myself to experience new things and really truly follow what is meant for me, this inner guidance, not my programming, that has really led me to the true lifestyle that is meant for me and that lights me up.
Man, I love that. I love that story. I just can't imagine Lauren, like, from the moment that I think I met her, she was like, I don't want kids. And I was like, what does that have to do with anything right now? Literally, she like leads with the flag that's like, no kids. But
Do you think not?
we had this in common because, like, I think when we met, I didn't know, like, she knew that I didn't want kids, but I was pretty sure from a very young age that I didn't. You want to hear my version of like when I was 27?
Yeah.
Okay, so when I was 27, that was actually the year that I went to makeup school.
Okay.
And my version of this like glamorous, amazing life was me being a top, well-known, like household name type of makeup artist who would have like several books and
Like
like
a Laura
maybe a
Mercier or something
line.
like that.
Laura Mercier, Bobby Brown,
Okay, yeah.
Kevin Aquan, something like that.
Yeah.
And then I thought that I would have like a husband who was like a director or like a top name photographer or
Yeah.
something like we would be like this power couple and we'd be living in New York and the like the West Village and we would like travel together for shoots and like I would live that glamorous life and holy shit, that is not my life. And I
No.
don't think I honestly never really saw kids in my future
Yeah.
until I was with my ex-fiance.
Yeah.
And I only saw kids for a blip of a moment. And I think maybe because I had actually had gotten pregnant and
Yeah.
lost that pregnancy. It was losing the
I
pregnancy.
remember that from
Yeah.
that was when we had just started our first episodes or right around there. 'Cause
Really?
I think it was like December 2021 or 20, yeah, I
Wow.
just remember that.
Wild.
I just remember that.
Wow,
Yeah.
wild. The way you remember dates is crazy.
It's so crazy.
Because I don't even remember days like this. But like that pregnancy actually made me realize that I didn't want to have kids. And it was a lot of guilt for me too. I was going through so much guilt at that time.
Yeah.
You know, like that time period was like really hard with a lot of guilt and shame feelings for me. But I had the realization that I had been trying to move towards this version of myself that was never really me.
Yeah.
And I mean, at this point, I could not have, in my wildest imagination, I would not have dreamt this life. Sometimes I think that I'm almost too happy to the point where I'm like, am I actually alive? Like, did I die? Is this like my heaven in a weird way, you know?
But I think that's the beautiful thing is when we let go of what we thought we should have or that the old versions of ourselves at one point, something so much fucking better has unfolded for both of us. Like I am so happy. I'm like every day that I'm here, I'm like, I'm so happy, Jen.
Yeah, it's true.
Just like, and I feel this way in Saw You Lead It too. Like, I mean, I always feel so lit up on my life. And I realized that like this is us truly living life as a lifestyle entrepreneur.
Yes.
Because we're so in love with our lives now. And it's we talk very little about actually business. Like we mean a little bit here, but
it's business, but in a different way.
in a different way.
Yeah.
We're not talking about the money the way we used to. We're just talking about we're
not talking about the stress the way we used to.
No,
You
it's
know,
just
pressure.
like there's no pressure. And it's the taking away what we thought it should look like that has allowed us to have something better. And I actually remember in our mastermind, the first round of the mastermind, some of the work that we did, like not a majority, like a chunk of the work we did was really holding space for these women to really figure out what their desires are. Remember how many conversations that we would have in that particular mastermind about desires? Because I think especially as women, and if you have kids and a husband or, you know, a lover, right? Like there's things that come in where we think we have to play certain rules, or as females in general have put other people before us, right? Of trying to please everybody around us. And I think that there is space, regardless if you have even if you have a family, right? Because I want to acknowledge that, like, yes, me and Jen do not have kids. Like, we don't know what it's like to have kids.
I have a dog,
right? Like we understand like that adds whole other layers of things into businesses. And a lot of my clients have kids and I like see the balance that it gets to make. And also you have desires and those desires are real and they're like your little breadcrumbs. And I like once I remember I just channeled and it was like literally it felt like from God. And it was like, your desires are your instructions. Right? Like it's the way there. And so even if like, regardless of your circumstances, we start giving ourselves permission to just realize that there are desires there or there's little breadcrumbs and we're not all meant to like the same things. We don't all work the same way. Jen wakes up super early. I like to sleep in. Right. So it's like,
wake up early too, but just not.
Yeah.
I wake up stupid early.
Stupid early. Like we all like, but I have a life where I get to sleep in as late as I want, right? Where
Exactly.
when I was working in corporate, I was waking up at 4:30 or 5 to get to the gym to do a workout before work, right? Where like that
Oh,
was not my I
yeah.
was that 5 or 6 years, you guys.
She was a bodybuilder.
I did. I used to train. I was a personal trainer, and I also had a full-time job, and I would wake up some mornings at 4:30 and work out. Now, I don't wanna wake up at fucking 4:30 in the morning. No, like, now I, like, wake up and I take a beach walk, or I go, like, jungle hike, or I go, like, walk like, climb a mountain, that to me is, like, everything, like, this is the lifestyle that we're talking about, and once again, going back to regardless of your circumstances, there's small little things that you can do, small little changes that you can do, and to allow yourself to, like, lean in, because if you have those desires, they are meant for you, and there's a way for that, but it takes time, and it takes you being willing to do things different and let go
Yeah.
of a whole ass way of being.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I hope this episode is like giving people hope because I could sound,
Yeah.
it could sound really airy fairy, which you might know this by now. I don't like that. But
Oh, I'm airy fairy. And
yeah, I would consider myself really practical, but also like I am also deeply spiritual. So I do believe the same thing that you're saying about your desires are instructions.
Yeah.
And the instructions might be driving you towards something that is actually very uncomfortable for you to experience. But on the other side of it, if you do make it to the other side, there's a whole ass world that you might not even know that you could be experiencing. And it's like the reward for
Yeah.
deciding to make that other decision.
Totally, absolutely. It's doing things differently, not just with our everyday life, but then also with strategy too, where I can't tell you how many times, and I've told a story about how I did a mastermind and the strategy was Facebook ads, and I hated Facebook ads. When we're growing our businesses, when we're choosing ways to show up, we want to be really honest with ourselves about like what do we actually like, right? Like if you don't like social media, stop trying to force yourself to like social media. Go networking, go base it on referrals, or go do like Google search or like SEO,
Mhm.
or hire a PR person to get you like right. There's just so many different ways to build your business, and this lifestyle concept is about being able to take the things that light you up, that fit into your lifestyle, and that allow you to have the best quality of life. So be willing to question how you're showing up, your strategy, all of the things that don't feel right or feel like they're draining you.
Yeah. And I think too, right? Like maybe you do have a lifestyle business already and maybe you want one, right? And so I think that if you're somebody who doesn't have one yet and you're like, this sounds all well and good, but it sounds impossible as well. I guess what we're saying right now is like your first step is to make the decision to follow those instructions because that is the hardest decision,
Yeah.
really, because you will be in for a whole journey that you might only know the next possible step right in front of you and nothing else after that. And I hope when I say that it's definitely worth it, that when you do decide to take that first step, that you find that it's worth it too. Because now that I've run different types of businesses in different types of ways,
Yeah.
I honestly don't think, like you said, like I will not, there's no way I could go back into that box.
Yeah.
This is the way forward. If I do have to get another job, it's going to be a job that fits within those parameters of
Yeah.
me being able to like really, nourish my life and not just my bank account.
Exactly. So if you're listening to this and and a lot of my clients, when they come to me, it's because they've had so much success that they're now trying to do everything, right? They're trying to like wear all of the hats, and the thing that they once were lit up by has become no fun because there's so many other things to do. So, A, you can outsource things, right? So, I think that's a big thing that I learned, and is learning how to outsource, learning how to say no, learning how to get honest with yourself. And I think one of the biggest things that have served me in my business is my ability to be wrong.
Mm.
And are willing to, right? Because that's a skill. Like we
For
like
real.
as human beings, like our brains, like we just want to feel safe. We're always in confirmation bias, right? And what this has required us to do is to pull ourselves outside of the confirmation bias, which is automatic, and to look at things differently,
Mm.
right? To see that, like, oh wait, there's a whole other way to do this.
Yeah, and I mean, some of the most rewarding moments will be when you figured out that that one thing you were hell bent on being right about, you're actually wrong about.
Right. And
You
then there's so
know?
much freedom in that. And it requires us to feel, right? Because we just don't want to feel disappointed and we don't want to feel sad. We're always trying to protect ourselves from those like negative emotions. But that in this, I feel like I go back to this every episode. It's like comes down to emotional coding. It comes down to our ability to feel our feelings. When we're not afraid to feel any feeling, it gives us freedom. And when we have that freedom to take the actions that we really want, we're going to continue to align ourselves to the thing that actually really feels good, which is what we all want anyways. Why why you're here for entrepreneurs, because there's a level of freedom you're looking for. There's a level of you wanting to do the thing that you love, right? And you're doing that so that you can feel good and be happy. So let's bring the feeling good and being happy first so that it's sustainable and that it's not draining you.
You know, my Spanish teacher asked me in the very beginning of like our journey together as student and teacher. She was like, she asked it in Spanish. I'm not going to try to remember how she asked it, but she was like, do you rest first and work later, or do you not allow yourself to rest until you've done enough work? And this, I started with her about a year ago. And my answer a year ago was, oh, no, there's no way that I'm resting until I have all my work done. And now I'm like, oh no, I don't even think I could do my work unless I am well rested.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so different. Actually, this is another thing I want to talk about is that my clients, especially the ones that have already have businesses making money, but they're doing too much and they want to do less, right? So they want a higher quality of life. My favorite text messages from them are not the ones when they're like, I've made money, because it's like they're already making the money. It's the, oh my gosh, I had so much free time today. And I want to say something, you guys. When you get to a point in your business where you can take naps in the middle of the day,
Oh man.
or you can go hiking in the middle of the day, or go to the beach in the middle of the day, or go to Mexico City for 6 days. That's a luxury. Like time and rest is a luxury. Like you think about like kings and queens, like how much like they just laid around all day, right? Like because it was like a sign of affluence, right? And so you don't need a ton of money to be able to have the luxury of just time and space. And I love it when I'm getting messages from my clients being like, oh my gosh, I'm back in the flow and I'm creating because I have all this time and space now because you took all the heavy things off my plate, right? Or the things that I was caught up in, or they not, and this is a different topic, automating things that are easy that then buy back your time so that you can do the things you love. Right. And that's like my favorite thing. Like those messages is like one of my clients was like, yeah, I like signed 4 clients over the holidays and didn't do anything. Like, can you imagine taking like 10 days off between Christmas and New Year's and 4 clients coming in? Like she rested and relaxed it. And like, that's luxury. And that's what I keep on reminding myself is the days where I'm like, oh, I'm going to take a nap in the middle of the day, or I'm going to go take a hike. I'm just like, oh yeah, my business is working. It's working because when I was hustling, right, when me and you were in our shit, we could never think about doing those things. I had to like do it first, but now I'm fitting in the fun first or working around it. And
do you remember that launch? So there's a launch.
You can only see me roll my eyes.
You can if you're watching this on video.
Exactly. If you're not watching,
jump over to YouTube if you haven't already.
If you haven't, you don't watch us. We're quite entertaining.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, but that launch, I have like imprinted memories in my mind of us at the Mutiny Hotel
in Miami.
In Miami with like giant paper on the walls. Like, you know that one meme where the guy from what is it called? Philadelphia. What is it called? All of a Sudden in Philadelphia. He's like this, and he's like at the chalkboard, and it's like he's like mad writing something.
Yeah.
That was us for like 4 or 5 days straight.
No, we spent like 2 weeks together.
Well, we were at the mutiny not the entire
Oh, yeah,
time.
that's right. That was another trip that I came. That was sorry, I'm confusing it. Yes, that was like 6 days. And I remember okay, so we were together for a whole week this week, and we were together for a whole week that week, and think about the energy difference right now.
Oh my God, we were exhausted, but we
Yeah.
were talking ourselves into and coaching each other into doing more and more and more work.
Exactly. We're like, we have to keep on going. I remember back then we used to do this thing where we would like pre-celebrate to like make us feel
Yeah.
good. So just pre-celebrate again, like really celebrate it because we were just so exhausted. So I think that's
much.
why when me and Jen, it's interesting because we both had to like do a lot of healing around who we both were when we were building that business. Because the thing is, there's fucking magic here. Like there's so much goodness and easiness, but the behind the scenes and how we were building and approaching it was a little
We would have never given ourselves a day off.
no.
Or like, like decide to call it quits after one episode. Or
Yeah.
we weren't making episodes of
But we
podcasts
also
back
were
then.
like really attached to the outcome. We're like, we need to get 10 people in this. We need to make the money. Like we were really like in it.
Yes.
We're right now, like we're only doing this. This is fun. Like if there's any attachments or any neediness or any like
Yeah, if you're the only person who's ever listened to this episode of the podcast, thank you for being here. You
We
are
love
our
you.
third bestie and we love you.
exactly. Thank you for joining. But that's I mean, like if no one listens, like we have the best fucking
Yeah,
life. Like
yeah,
we're having fun
exactly.
right now. Like we should,
At least Ality knows.
exactly like
Our photographer.
if you're not already following us on the Instagrams and around, you can see some of the behind the scenes, or actually it'll be way later, but we're always having fun. But that's our whole thing. If
Yeah.
it's not fun, we ain't doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, with that said, there's moments where I have to pull myself out, right? Like my tendency is to keep on going back. So this isn't like perfect. We're not here like,
No.
right? There's a lot of like
Not perfect.
course correcting. There's a lot of course correcting and like conversations and remembering and coming back to home, coming back to ourselves.
So that gets to be how lifestyle entrepreneurship could look for you. It's definitely going to look different because you're a different person. We are different people. We are even different people than we were in the first iteration of the podcast.
right?
Listen to the difference if you ever get the chance. Oh, it's not live right now, but anyways.
But we might release some vault episodes for you. If you're
potentially.
lucky.
We'll see.
We'll see. Jen's a little bit like Jen's is a little bit cringy about things more than I am. I'm like, it's amazing. I've been watching and listening them back, and our shit is amazing. She's like, I'll have to listen and see.
I don't know. I'm like, there's still parts of like that era of my life where I'm like, okay, I'm still coming into an acceptance of it.
Yeah.
And
But
I just
think
feel like so me now that I'm like, wow, that is a different version that I haven't revisited since then,
exactly. I get that.
But yes.
But we have new content we can create in from here,
Exactly.
which is what we're doing.
So thanks for joining us today talking about lifestyle entrepreneurship and
really following your desires, like taking. And I want to I'm going to say one more thing. A huge piece of my success in my business came when I really learned my human design. And not to go, I don't want to like go down, like this is like a whole other like.
I was like, this is a whole nother
a whole other topic, but I'm just going to plant the seed here because I think that this going back to lifestyle entrepreneurship, and we briefly touched on energy and doing things, but like I think that's a huge piece of it. I remember I have ADHD, and I remember
both do if you can't tell.
I remember how painful it used to be to have to sit at a desk from like 8 hours a day. So for me, like I break up my working blocks and I like break up my energy and I do things, right? Where when you're in a corporate job or maybe the business you have right now, you're just not even questioning, you're just going and like going after and hustling. There is different ways that we're all kind of meant to work. Now, you don't have to go into human design if you already know about it. Just remember, like it's enough to be dangerous to be like, okay, I'm not meant to do things the way that everybody is meant to do things. And just knowing that and giving yourself permission to do things your way is freeing. And I'm a projector, and us projectors are very different. And the month that I really, really, really in the few months like in my business where I had like the most money, I remember I was in this place of really owning, hey, I'm meant to do things differently. And I remember really playing around and like in the middle of a launch, I was exhausted. And I remember being like, fuck it, like I'm gonna do this my way. And stopping the launch and giving myself a week to rest. And in that week of resting, I brought in $22,000. Right. And like having that really being the first thing where I'm like, oh, wait, there's so much more to just like action. There's this energy and there's this doing it your way. And when I learned that money, and I actually had the experience and been in my body of seeing and experiencing money coming in my business without making effort was a game changer for me.
Oh, yeah, because effort doesn't equal money.
Right.
This is something that I remembered or had this like, sometimes you just are doing something and then like the memory or the epiphany like comes over
Yeah.
you. I had this recently where I was like, oh my goodness, I am remembering that effort does not equal money. So believing that it does will run you ragged.
Or keep you in the system that you created that's bigger than you. And this is often when I'm my consulting clients is that their business has been successful, but now it's like they're doing too much and they're not having fun, right? So it's like being willing to see that like actually like, no, you don't have, and that's like, this is my favorite thing is people that had been used to doing consult calls and like they need to be the one selling it to then putting in a funnel or putting in a masterclass that sells for them. There's actually an energetic shift that they have to do that I walk them through to help them feel safe. And when that clicks and they're like, wow, like a year, and I remember my client just like a little bit ago, she's like, yeah, a year ago, I would have never thought this was possible for me. Right. So like, this is a big shift that you actually have to make is realizing that at some point, like in the beginning, there's some work that needs to be done.
Yeah.
But not all, at some point though, more action doesn't equal more money.
Right.
Right. And it's also learning how to lean back and then realizing that sometimes in that lean back state, that receiving state, that not trying to do everything, when you're in a hustle and you're really trying to force, the second you lean back, there's an energetic shift. And that's when things come in. And there's so many times in my business over and over again with my clients where we take a step back and the doing less is the thing that makes more money. And that's fun. Fun to see.
It's way more.
And this is just reminders. This is just reminders to you guys, right? And this is, I'm sure you already know this, but sometimes we need that reminder.
Yeah. So this is yours.
Yes.
All right, friends.
Thanks for joining us again, friend.
And we have still a couple more episodes left for you in this season. Yeah. So we'll look forward to seeing you again in the next one.
Absolutely.
Hey friend, enjoying this podcast and want to work with us to simplify and scale your business? We have a full service boutique agency. Check out the show notes for more information and to apply to work with us.